The two series I've discussed the most on this channel are both One Piece and Invincible. They are very high quality works of fiction that are easy to get addicted to. Luffy and Mark are the ones both series respectively follows, and while we have seen the end of Mark's journey, the feats Luffy has portrayed to us is very comparable, so I thought why not compare the main characters of both series and discuss who would win in a fight, Luffy or Mark. What's up guys, my name is Verdix, and if you enjoy videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I put out quality content like this weekly, you won't want to miss. Also, real quickly, this video contains spoilers for the end of Invincible, so if you have not read through the series yet, I highly recommend you go read it over and come back to this video. After 2 decades of ongoing runtime, Luffy is finally a top tier. While it did take quite some time for him to get there, we have seen many, and I mean many of his feats and can carefully analyze his power. To start, in Dressrosa, we saw during the Colosseum section of the arc, Luffy would run into Chinchou, who has the power capable of splitting apart continents. We see a flashback of him doing just this, and because of his hatred for Garp, after Garp embarrassed him, he passed that hatred down to Luffy, where even while angry, Luffy was able to overpower him and defeat him without even going all out. This version of Luffy doesn't even contend with current base Luffy, yet even back in Dressrosa without going all out, Luffy can defeat characters who can split apart continents. This is consistent within weaker characters in the verse, as Sai is stated to be able to achieve the same feat with just his foot. Mind you that these guys are objective fodder who back then didn't hold up to Luffy, let alone current Luffy, yet they are still able to split apart continents. It's also important to note that Luffy and his crew have stat buffs after every arc and grow rapidly in strength during each one. The time span of which the Straw Hats have been adventuring over the New World has not been nearly as long as you would think. Yet in a few months, Luffy went from going extreme diff with Doflamingo to defeating Kaido. Both Luffy and Kaido are comparable in AP to Old Whitebeard, who is stated by Sengoku and Oda himself to be able to destroy the entire One Piece world. The One Piece planet is several times larger than ours, as it has multiple moons, meaning Old Whitebeard has AP capable of destroying a large planet. This power to destroy the world is able to be stalled and overpowered by top tiers like Akainu and Roger, and when Blackbeard is using the fruit, Law is able to stalemate it. Luffy is obviously stronger than Law, and while he isn't as strong as Akainu or Roger, he's still very strong in his own right. Luffy would be able to contend with that large planetary level strength and can affect his opponents internally with advanced Armament Haki or Ryu, which is just durability negation. On top of this, he can add advanced Conqueror's Haki, which is a massive boost in power and can hurt his opponents without even touching them. He also of course can use Future Sight to help him land and avoid attacks. The biggest factor in all of this is his gears, but most importantly, Gear 5. It grants him insane strength and the ability to do anything he wants through the properties of rubber. With these insane strength buffs, we saw him overpower and beat Kaido and Wano, and during Egghead, he was able to embarrass the Gorosei and slow down Kizaru, although he was massively holding back and depressed during the arc. However, Luffy's abilities constantly leave his opponents dazed and confused with not many ways to counter. I would scale his AP to large planetary level. Mark is a pretty annoying character to scale up until his fights with Conquest and Thragg. The reason I say this is because he never goes all out, and oh my fucking god does this piss me off sometimes. I'll give him this though, he never had a real opponent where we saw the limit of his capabilities till the first Conquest fight. In this battle, he only won because of the help he obtained and the rage boost he encountered at the end of the fight. It's not until his second fight with Conquest that we see Mark really overpower him, except it wasn't with his bare hands. The way he killed him was by choking him out. It's made clear during the fight that if it was raw hands, Mark wouldn't have made it through. I think that's something not enough people bring up when Mark vs. Conquest Part 2 is up for discussion. In his first encounter with Thragg, he gets demolished and it's not even close. He even had his dad's help, yet they both get fucked up, and Nolan admits defeat before it even happens. Like, this guy knew it was over. What's most important to note though, is that he, with the help of his dad, Thaddeus, and Space Racer, was able to destroy the planet Viltrum. But for some reason, a lot of people assume that destroying a planet is the limit of what the Invincible verse is capable of. We see and are told that a single Viltrumite has the capacity to eradicate planets completely. Not to mention that we see the 3 men that destroyed planet Viltrum get demolished single-handedly by Thragg. Now, to really get you guys to understand how strong Mark is, he is able to fight off Universa, and specifically endure the energy output of her staff several times without getting hurt. She can absorb massive amounts of energy into that staff that powers her whole planet galaxies away. Mark beat her fairly easily without going all out. There's also Omnipotence, who destroyed a star system through a chain reaction and can reshape worlds through feeding off the energy of the universe, yet Dinosaurus easily defeats this guy who Mark upskills from. He also upskills from Space Racer, who with his gun is shown and stated to destroy stars itself. We see that this is consistent, as during the final battle between Mark and Thragg, they were able to fight inside the sun's core. They are literally taking dips inside of the core itself and still are able to fight each other off. Their battle is causing the sun to shoot out solar flares that they also tank while trading blows. A lot of people seem to not understand why the heat started to affect them more over time, and this is due to the Viltrumite smart atoms. Over time, they get worn down and are easier to break apart, especially when under severe pressure such as the heat of the sun's core, which is why at the start of the fight, the flares were not affecting them as much as it was in the end. While Mark can damage and endure Thragg, he isn't stronger than him at this point in the series. It's only because of the help Mark got that he won this fight. But when he actually becomes stronger than Thragg is during the 500-year time skip, where Mark is now known as Emperor Mark. During his reign, we saw he defeated Alan without having much damage applied to him, and does the same to his son Marky, although this fight seemed to have caused Mark more trouble than his battle with Alan. The impressive thing about this is that Alan in a weaker state was able to overpower multiple of Thragg's soldiers at once. These soldiers of Thragg's are able to compete with the high-tier Viltrumites such as Krieg, Lucan, Thula, etc. While they might not have the exact same strength as those Viltrumites, 4 of them were able to beat the living shit out of a weaker Thragg that could destroy both Nolan and Mark at the same time. Thragg's soldiers are able to fight on par with this, yet Alan is able to fight off multiple of these soldiers at once, and even when he gets stronger over 500 years, Mark could defeat him in a fight that didn't seem too difficult for him. I would put Mark at the lowest interpretation, large planetary level, but I more so believe he is in that small star levels of AP. Both of these guys' levels of speed are pretty simple to explain. On Luffy's end, we saw light speed feats all the way back in Thriller Bark, where Zoro is dodging Kuma's pad cannons. These attacks fire at the speed of light, yet pre-time skip Zoro is dodging this. Current Luffy obviously upskills from this, as at the start of the time skip, Luffy was able to dodge light speed attacks from the Pacifista that he does while standing still and refers to them as too slow. He does this in base, and with his gears he can amplify his stats, but specifically here his speed, in which he is able to outspeed most of his opponents in the verse. Unless there is someone like Kizaru or in that tier of speed, then Luffy is most likely going to blitz you. Just like every series, the opponents are all stronger and faster than the last. We see how Katakuri was once known as one of the fastest, but after the years of story progression and power cliffing, he is nowhere near the top of the verse in speed anymore. Katakuri back in Whole Cake Island was blitzing Luffy, who can move hundreds of times, if not thousands faster than light. And this current version of Luffy would leave his past self in the dust, as against Kaido, we saw you can be fast enough where Future Sight itself doesn't work, and Luffy has to go through multiple training arcs and stat buffs to keep up with them. This goes even further, as he has to keep up with Kizaru and Egghead for a bit, although if he wanted to, Kizaru could have avoided most of Luffy's attacks. Regardless though, Luffy is still in a similar tier of speed to Kizaru and has MFTL plus levels of speed. In Invincible, we see Mark fly to and back from the Earth's atmosphere in seconds. Alan can avoid Viltrumite ships that travel through galaxies in days, and we see Omni-Man himself fly through the galaxy in a week because he was depressed. He's even able to move freely in a black hole that has insane amounts of force pulling you in. Yet a suicidal Omni-Man can easily fly through it and save the Thraxan ship. In his second fight with Conquest, he was able to chase down Conquest before he got his hands on Oliver. He does a very similar feat in his final battle with Thragg, where he is able to travel with Thragg into the middle of the sun in an instant. In terms of combat speed, we see that Thragg is able to punch faster than Nolan can move in their first fight, and with both of them getting buffs over the years, this speed only goes further. Mark is able to combat Thragg, who just killed Nolan before this, and Thragg during this time was recently able to fight and beat Battle Beast over a 3-day long fight, where they went extreme diff with each other, and Thragg came out on top. Yet Mark is able to keep up with this version of Thragg and react to his attacks. Like I stated, Mark during his reign as Emperor was able to beat both Alan and Marky, and while we don't know exactly how strong and fast they are at this point in the series, they are clear top tiers that might even be faster than Thragg, but that's a big if. All in all, Mark at the end of the series can most likely move billions of times faster than the speed of light, making him an MFTL plus level being. In terms of durability, we see that Luffy can harden his skin with high tier armament haki, and can take the blunt attacks of Kaido without suffering much damage at all. He's able to literally laugh off multiple advanced armament and Conqueror's Lace attacks by Kaido that affected him internally. Like I stated before, Kaido is comparable to Old Whitebeard, who can destroy the large One Piece planet, yet Luffy is able to endure multiple of these attacks. Even when Luffy was getting beat up by Gaban, the moment he pulls out Gear 5, Gaban realized his true strength. Gear 5 definitely helps him endure blunt attacks a lot easier than before. But the one downside to this is that the form only lasts 5 minutes. Unless Luffy has some food source to immediately eat from, once those 5 minutes are up, he's a sitting duck. If he goes into Gear 4, this form still takes up time and doesn't last too long either, so he usually needs someone to hold off his enemies while he consumes food on the side for round 2. He does have Future Sight that can help him avoid attacks, but like we saw with Kaido, if you're fast enough, you can make it become irrelevant. Still though, Luffy has large planetary level durability when in Gear 5, but he has very limited stamina. Mark is one of, if not the most durable Viltrumite out there. As being a Viltrumite of his caliber, he casually tanks the nuke fired by the Mauler twins, and multiple other opponents failed to put an ounce of damage onto him. Even when he's fighting Conquest for the first time, he is able to endure the pain and fight off Conquest until he gets his first win against him. I also pointed out before that he was able to endure energy outputs from Universe's staff that can charge her planet from galaxies away. Now I made it pretty clear that the omnipotent solar system level scaling is pretty bullshit, but it is said that he has altered and destroyed planets, yet Dinosaurus is no diffing this guy. The reason I brought this up again is because Dinosaurus' teeth and claws are breaking apart on impact when fighting Thragg. These claws are able to no-diff a guy that eats planets, yet are nothing compared to Thragg. Thragg only gets stronger than this, as after the 5-year time skip, Mark, as we saw, beat him with the aid of Robot and Alan. Then after another time skip, this time of 500 years, Mark only gets much stronger. As Viltrumites get stronger over time, and Mark is seemingly in a healthy condition after fighting Alan. When fighting Thragg, they were able to tank multiple solar flares while enduring each other's attacks simultaneously. To top all of this off, because of the Viltrumite's smart atoms, they heal quickly over time. It can heal lethal attacks as long as their heart or something of that magnitude isn't destroyed. Ultimately, Mark would have around star level durability. Well, you guys have heard all the stats. Now it's time to find out who wins, the future king of the pirates or the current emperor of the Viltrumites. Well, without sugarcoating it for you guys, Luffy is going to be dealing with a lot more than he can handle. Mark has so many more win cons going on for him than Luffy does, as if he wanted to, he can easily take Luffy up into space and kill him that way. Mark is massively faster than Luffy as well, and there's just nothing we have seen from Luffy so far that suggests he can compete with Mark's speed. And while sure, Mark will have a hard time figuring out how Gear 5 works, he still has ways around it, as he will just overpower Luffy and blitz him before Luffy can really react. Like we saw in Wano, Future Sight won't be effective here since Mark is way too fast for Luffy, and while yes, Gear 5 helps Luffy deal with blunt attacks, these attacks are from characters with large planetary level AP. Sure, this isn't a bad feat, but when compared to Mark, who can dish out attacks the level of a star while being much faster, it won't really matter here. Most of the One Piece versus videos I discuss on my channel, I see comments saying that the Invincible character, whomever it may be, doesn't have the internal durability to deal with the durability negation that One Piece characters can dish out. But when you go up to the top tiers of Invincible, especially Emperor Mark, he's able to tank solar flares in a weaker state and take dips in the sun's core while fighting off Thragg. Luffy at his current state cannot achieve this feat, and Mark will be landing a fury of attacks onto Luffy. Another thing is that Mark has an insane pain tolerance that Luffy just doesn't compete with. This guy has his body literally falling apart on multiple occasions, and because of his Viltrumite DNA, he can heal pretty quickly over time. Mark heals over time, while Luffy can only last 5 minutes before he's on the ground with 0 ways to defend himself. I also must discuss that while Mark does hold back in 99% of his fights, he upskills from everything Luffy is capable of. If he wanted to, another win con for him would be able to just fly up and around Luffy and wait till Gear 5 wears off. I think by now, you guys are seeing the amount of ways Mark can win this fight, and Mark, when he gets pissed off, might just choke you or headbutt you to death like he did with Conquest. He is still a much more brutal fighter than Luffy that has all the stats going his way. At the end of the day, there's just nothing Luffy can really do, while Mark has hundreds of ways to put Luffy down. Maybe at the end of One Piece we'll see this change, but for as of now, Emperor Mark is just too damn powerful for Luffy to handle. Hand him the W. Well, that's it for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a like. It really helps with the algorithm and is very appreciated. As always, shout out to Tiberius for the thumbnail. He makes quality thumbnails for me all the time, and if you would like some of your own, hit him up on Twitter, link in the description, as well as my Twitter at Burtix_ for more of my takes. And without further ado, you guys can get out of here.